Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the third session of our Transitioning to Workshop, our Transitioning to Retirement workshops that we hold every January. We appreciate everybody returning because we have a lot of great information for you again today. And hopefully, you're receiving my emails that I'm sending out with the recordings after these sessions, along with any information that we talked about in the sessions, like links or websites that you would need to go to get any further information. I'm seeing some thumbs up, so thank you very much. If you're not, go ahead and send us an email at retireecenter@ucdavis.edu, and we can forward that information to you. Amanda and I are monitoring that email all the time. So as more and more people sign on, we have 357 people registered, and right now we're at 122, so I think that number is going to continue to grow. Just a couple of reminders, we will be using Q&A specifically for any questions to our panelists today. For a couple of reasons, Fidelity doesn't have chat access, and more importantly, if all the questions are going into one thing, it's easier for us to monitor them and then we're not having duplicate questions all over the place. So just keep that in mind that we will be using Q&A specifically for this session. I do want to introduce Amanda Seta again. She is our Assistant Director of the Retiree Center. She's amazing and does a lot of great work. So we are the faces. Once again, Larry Tower, program coordinator, is out of baby bonding, but he is also another person, if you call the Retiree Center, that you may talk to him, and he's wonderful as well. So, and then we have two amazing people from Fidelity that we want you to, they're going to give you so much information today, and they're great resources going forward. I'm going to start with Kim Becker. Kim is been working with Kim for quite a few years, and she not only is going to be doing this part of this session this morning, she also is doing in-person sessions at the UC Davis Retiree Center on the Davis campus if you'd like to meet with her in person. We have one date that's almost full, February 24th. Also, she will be there on March 17th and April 28th. They're half-hour sessions. If you would like to set up an appointment to meet with Kim in person, you can call us at the Retiree Center or email us, and we'll help you set that up. Eric Schreiber is with us too, and Eric's been with Fidelity for a very long time. We're really excited that he's here today to answer a lot of your questions on Social Security, but they're both going to be going back and forth answering questions for, it's going to be sort of a split session on topics. So after the first session, which Kim will begin, we'll do the Q&A for that session, and then we'll take a quick break, and then Eric will jump in to do his part of the session. If you come up with questions that don't fall into the session we're in, that's okay. They'll be going through them at the end as well. But I want to give a big thanks to Kim and Eric for being here, because without them, we couldn't provide this. So thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to Kim.
Thanks, Julianne and Amanda, and thank you so much for having us. These sessions are amazing. We've been doing them. Well, Julianne's been doing them for a while. Just, a little bit about me. I've been with Fidelity for over 15 years, and on the UC team, where we, of course, provide resources to you as UC Davis employees. I've been on the UC Davis campus for almost 7 years. And of course, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Spencer as well, who's been on campus for well over 10 years. He is currently out on medical leave. And so we're fortunate enough to have Eric here with us today to pick up a little bit of that need for covering some of these webinars, and of course, a resource for you as well. Eric covers UC Berkeley. But of course, today, as Julianne mentioned, I'm going to be covering envisioning your retirement and retirement income planning, while Eric's going to be covering Social Security. These are incredible topics, and we're hoping that this is a great spend of your day. First of all, we also appreciate you taking a few hours out of your day to learn about these topics and how you can, have a successful retirement. I know somebody's asking about an echo. I didn't hear an echo from Julianne, so they're asking if it's just maybe their PC. If anyone else hears an echo, let us know. But when Julianne was speaking, I did not hear an echo, so it may just be your PC. Sorry. Um, but with that, a couple of things when we talk about today and the topics, they're very important topics. And when you're thinking about where you are in retirement and how this is going to impact you, if you have questions that are specific to you and want to discuss this at a later time, feel free to schedule one-on-one consultations. And you can do that with myself, with Eric, with anyone on our team. We have a website. It's myucretirement.com. And again, as we mentioned these websites, Julianne is going to email them out next week, so you'll have access to them. But with that myucretirement.com website, you can schedule virtual appointments. These are all part of your retirement benefits. So there's no fee to have these consultations because, for the most part, the meetings are virtual. If I'm not available, you can schedule an appointment with any of my colleagues that are at the different campuses. That's one of the benefits of being virtual. And I always like to point out that if you're planning your retirement with a spouse or a partner, they're more than welcome to join, and we encourage them to join as well, right? You're retiring together, and it's a large phase of your life. It could be 20 to 30 years. So if you're both there, or whoever you're planning your retirement with, feel free to have them join. And again, just one last housekeeping item, the Q&A. Again, Eric and I only have access to the Q&A. We do not have access to the chat. So for any questions, please feel free to type in a Q&A. And I'm going to answer one question that came in. It says, is Spencer still a rep? His name is listed, but don't hear his name around anymore. He's out on medical leave. So yes, he is still a rep. He's just out on medical leave. If any of you, whatever you do to send somebody good juju, please send it to him. Eric, do you want to do an introduction before you talk, or do you want to do it before your Social Security?
I'll go ahead and just say hello right now, and
Perfect.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you to the Davis Retiree Center and Julianne and Amanda and for inviting me to join today, and I want to thank all of you who are in attendance for taking time out of your day to join and spend the next couple hours, 2 to 3 hours with us. Yeah, again, I'm Eric Schreiber. As Kim mentioned, I live in the Bay Area. I work very closely with UC Berkeley, the Berkeley Lab, UCOP, which is the Office of the President in downtown Oakland. I also do meet with a lot of folks from UC Davis and the other campuses. And there is a whole team of us from Fidelity who are dedicated exclusively to working with UC and part of their retirement system. And as Kim couldn't said it any better, that we are a resource to you, a free resource for you to schedule an appointment with, have a consultation with, to really do some detailed retirement income planning for you and your situation. And we can help tie your resources together and identify the incomes that you're anticipating in your retirement between your pension, Social Security, your retirement accounts like your UC 403B, 457, DCP, other accounts you may have outside of UC, and really how all together can create and provide the income that you're going to need to cover your expenses that you may be anticipating in your retirement. I've been with Fidelity for 25 years, actually to be 25 years in about a week for me. So, and dedicated to working with UC for, about 14, 15 years. So a long time. And enough about for the introductions here. But again, I'm really excited to be here and appreciate the opportunity to help answer questions and present and talk about retirement income planning and Social Security today. So thank you.
Thanks, Eric. And congratulations on 25 years. That's amazing.
Thank you.
But we have a very tenured team, as you know, as you're hearing. So we're going to go ahead and start. I just want to let you know I will be turning my video off for the presentation, mainly for a bandwidth thing. I never like when that little your video is unstable shows up, especially when we're presenting to hundreds of people. But I'll pop back on afterwards, especially when we're doing the Q&A. But again, I absolutely want to thank you for joining us. And of course, spending the next few hours with us as we guide you on your pathway to retirement. So this first topic is going to be, of course, envisioning your retirement. And I really think that this is an important topic. Not everyone likes to listen about envisioning your retirement. We only spend a few minutes on it. I know that the next session I believe that Julian has is really talking about how you can spend your time in retirement and things like that. But I will say I have met with people, and I'm sure Eric has as well, where people haven't retired because they don't know what they're going to do and they rather just continue working instead of not doing something. So this is really what this section is about. It's kind of just thinking about what that next step looks like for you. And, when we talk about retirement, there are usually two words in the title that are unfamiliar and unclear for most, and that's fulfillment and retirement. And we often talk about this idea of finding fulfillment in retirement as if we aren't fulfilled now, or as if it's a destination. And when you think about it, what is retirement these days, right? Sure, there's often a component of leaving your job behind, leaving behind a paycheck that you're used to getting, whether it's biweekly, monthly, but with decades more to plan for, what is retirement? And really what retirement is it's the next chapter that you're going to get to define your own time and all of it, right? There's no more pressure in the day to meet deadlines or delivery dates. You'll be squarely on your own time and your own pace. So think of it as a blank sheet of paper. But now what are you going to do? So how long might you spend in retirement? So across America, about 50% of people retire by the age of 60. That's the national average. In California, the average retirement age is 64. But here at UC, the average age of retirement is 60. If you look at average statistics, the average length of retirement is reported around 18 years. But that's not the norm for many folks who are a little better off, a little more educated, and a little healthier. So based on longevity studies, we know that it's important to plan for a retirement to last into your mid to late 90s. That's because approximately 25% of us will make it that long. So if you retire at 60 and need to plan for a retirement to last until you're 95, that's 35 years. Think about it. You could be retired longer than you were working. Here are 4 tips for finding fulfillment in your retirement. And you want to ask yourself questions and answer truthfully. Create your purpose, whether that be volunteering, working part-time. Maybe you want to start a new career with something you've always wanted to do. Get involved with your church or your neighborhood group. Give time to your hobbies. And certainly acknowledge that this is not business as usual. The first year of your retirement is the reorientation stage. A lot of clients tell me that the list of things they want to do when they retire, fix things around the house, play more golf, travel, that's more of a to-do list than a lifestyle plan. So a good lifestyle plan should involve working on things that bring meaning and fulfillment into your life. Make sure you do your research. So this will be the hardest step for some of you, and it'll be the easiest step for others. So ask yourself these questions. Are you ready to leave what you've been doing? Who am I without work, right? We often identify ourselves by what we do. I'm a professor, I'm a painter, I work on an assembly line, or what have you. The loss of an identity tag can be extremely disconcerting for many people. And again, the key isn't just to ask these questions, it's to answer truthfully for you. So next is to start to create your purpose. Some of you may already know your purpose in retirement years, and that's great if you do. And don't despair if you have no idea. Many happy retirees stay in their field of expertise and just found a different way to use it. Find your path. Now, as you consider your options, think about whether you want to spend your free time doing something similar to what you did in your job, or if you want to try something wholly different. Right? Exploring something you've never done before can be a great way to stimulate your mind and make new friends. One thing that is very different about retirement, you'll now have the time to give new things a try. You aren't just fitting them into the weekend, so you can sample ideas over months and see if that's what you've been looking for. You'll have plenty of time to be patient for that. And the bottom line is we're aging. right? Well, so I mean, it's no surprise we've always been aging. In this chapter of life, we feel it more. But be mindful of aging and embrace it. It's okay if you can't do everything anymore, right? Realistically, we really never did do everything. It just felt like we were doing everything. And think about your role as a caregiver for your parents or your spouse or your partner. It's a very common role that so many of our generation are stepping into. We also want to recognize and acknowledge that retirement is not business as usual, right? It's really different. Expect some shocks, both sad and happy, easy and difficult. First, give yourself some time. Understand that this will be a process. Your transition into retirement won't happen overnight, and your emotions may shift from one day to the next. Embrace this new chapter of freedom in your life. The retirees that we talk to often say it took 2 to 5 years to learn to live in retirement, right? It's completely different. And it may well be the only shot you'll get to do something you've always wanted to do. There are lots of places to get started. You don't want to ask yourself where the time has gone. Find ways to spend it meaningfully. So AARP is a great resource, but also you want to get to know your local retiree center, right? Julianne and her team, they give you the opportunity to talk to people like you, right? I mean, the retiree center has incredible resources to keep you connected to UC even in retirement. They do morning coffees, they do bike rides, they do trips. So lots of resources there. So if you haven't signed up for their newsletter, I would encourage you to do that. I would guess most of you have because that's probably how you found out about these webinars and the transition to retirement sessions. But again, great resource with the Retiree Center. So with that, we've just talked about envisioning your retirement and giving some thought to how you'd like to fulfill your days while you're on the longest vacation of your life. Now we're going to discuss how you can achieve the retirement you've envisioned by sharing some of the benefits of building a retirement income plan. We're going to give you some top line information and resources about many parts of retirement income planning today. So think of this information as the tip of the iceberg. When you meet with myself, Eric, one of our teammates, and the UC benefits folks, we'll dive much deeper and work on your own specific details to help make sure your retirement is all that you want it to be. So what exactly is a retirement income plan? Like a blueprint to a new house or a recipe for a new dish, a retirement income plan is designed specifically for you and is defined as a detailed plan to help you determine how you might use your financial resources to generate income to meet your goals. You can create a plan by yourself or with Fidelity. It can be simple, it can be very detailed. The key thing is to get started, even if you're only 50 or 55. And I'll even say younger, right? I mean, the sooner you start getting your retirement income planning and deciding if you are able to retire at a specific age and if you're going to have enough money to last, the better off you'll be. It'll help you make some important decisions about your saving strategies and your work life and your own time. So for today's agenda, we're going to talk about deciding when you can retire, aligning your income and expenses. Do you have enough money to cover your expenses? Incorporating income security, for example, your pension. Reevaluating your investments. We'll also talk about streamlining and keeping things simple, right? Is it easy and convenient for you to access and manage your accounts? Deciding when to retire is a huge step, right? I mean, this is a big deal. It's like cliff diving or bungee jumping. One day you're working and the next you aren't. So make sure you've considered all the possibilities is a key benefit to developing your retirement income plan. There are two major decision-making areas around deciding when to retire. The first area is all about you and what you want. You'll want to be in charge and in control when you retire, where you retire to, and what to do with your time. But sometimes retirement doesn't happen that way, and you can be surprised when life gets in the way. Right, so we address some what if scenarios when building a retirement income plan. So if you end up retiring earlier than planned or moving away, or staying in place, you'll have a foundation. It's also important to consider who you are planning with. Are you planning by yourself or with a spouse or a partner? If you're planning with a spouse or partner, you'll also want to consider these important questions. Are you both retiring at the same time? How will your spouse or partner savings, retirement benefits, and income sources affect your overall plan? Are the two of you on the same page? If not, what are you going to do about that? The second major decision-making area around deciding when to retire is what you will be able to afford. Do you want the same lifestyle you have now, or are you planning to make some changes? When we develop your retirement income plan together, we'll talk about your big financial situations. We first want to make sure your savings last through retirement and for both spouses or partners. We know you have retirement goals and a lifestyle you want. How much of that can you have in retirement? Right? A plan is only a tool, it's a starting place. So you'll want to know that you have some financial flexibility for things that come up. We make sure to address this reality of living in retirement. And some of you will want to preserve your money for a legacy or inheritance, and others will want to spend your hard-earned savings down to the last dime. You get to choose, and we'll help you see how you can make this happen. And there's one more invaluable benefit of a retirement income plan, and that's providing freedom, right? The freedom of knowing you have a plan that helps you experience retirement in the way you envision. As you shift to creating your own paycheck in retirement, it's important that you know how much you'll need to create to cover your expenses. And having a plan is essential because it helps organize your finances, guide your decisions, and prepare you for the unexpected. It also serves as a monthly budgeting tool that can be adjusted at any time. Affording the retirement lifestyle you envision can be done. With a realistic estimate of your expenses in retirement, you'll want to identify which income sources will be designated to cover these expenses. It will also be important to estimate your expenses in retirement as accurately as possible so you can plan for enough retirement income to cover these expenses for the rest of your life. So let's review a hypothetical example. So let's say you figured out that you'll need about $7,000 per month in income. Part of this income will come from your UC retirement plan pension and Social Security. Right? Those are considered your reliable income sources. Those will give you about $5,000 a month in income, but you're short $2,000. So what options will you have to fill that gap? Well, you might be able to pull from other savings. You might find that you'll have to work longer or delay taking Social Security, or you might decide to downsize somewhat and live within your new means. So each person will take a different route. There's no right or wrong, but it is important to build your retirement income plan so you can see where you stand and make decisions that are right for you. That's one of the biggest benefits to the plan. So we can put expenses into 3 categories. Essential expenses. This category includes your must-haves, right? That's going to include your groceries, utilities, transportation, healthcare, rent or your mortgage, and of course, let's not forget taxes and insurance. Discretionary expenses, this category includes your nice-to-haves, right? That's going to include travel, any hobbies you may have, dining out. It may also include purchases such as a vacation home or a new vehicle. And importantly, here's where some of your flexible money comes into play, right? You'll want to be able to drop everything and go when an unexpected opportunity arises and plan that these extras will happen. And of course, we have emergency expenses. This category includes unexpected events, such as a leaking roof or an unforeseen health issue. As you plan, you'll want to budget for these types of expenses. A common rule of thumb is to set aside 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses to help cover emergencies. Right? Unfortunately, emergencies don't stop when we retire. It would be nice, but we still have to think about those. Now, another important step is to incorporate income security into your plan by assessing the amount of guaranteed income you can expect from sources such as your pension from UC and any predictable income from Social Security. So let's start with the more traditional sources of retirement income. Again, that's going to be your pension, Social Security, again, those are your guaranteed monthly income resources that you'll have throughout retirement, right? Those last for the rest of your life. You also have your retirement savings program, and that's going to consist of your UC 403B, your 457B, and your defined contribution plan. And in other savings, you may have a Roth IRA, a rollover IRA, and this could also include military pensions and railroad retirement benefits. Now, once you assess your sources of retirement income, you can use your UC Retirement Review to help you determine if your retirement income will meet your spending needs in the later years of retirement. Your retirement review is a personalized statement that provides a snapshot of the retirement income you are on track to receive from all your UC retirement benefits, plus a readiness score that lets you quickly see how you're doing towards retirement income. The UC Retirement Review is available on myucretirement.com. Once you're there, you can click retirement income and then click retirement income estimates from all UC benefits. Now, keep in mind, this pulls the income you'll receive from your pension and your UC accounts at Fidelity. For a more comprehensive plan, we would encourage you to schedule a retirement planning meeting with myself, Eric, or one of our colleagues, because our tools go much more into detail and will include all of your income. We can input all of that information and, of course, your expenses as well. Now, once you have a plan set up and you're eligible to take withdrawals, set your new paycheck, right? Again, you can do systematic withdrawals on autopilot, again, by setting up recurring automatic withdrawals. You can set up recurring automatic withdrawals from your retirement savings plan account, which again is your 403B, your 457B, and that defined contribution plan. You can have these withdrawals go directly into your bank account, or you can have a check sent to you. You can set this up online by going to Net Benefits, or you can call Fidelity. Now, the year that you reach the age of 73, the IRS regulations generally require you to withdraw a minimum amount of money each year from your tax-deferred retirement accounts. These are your pre-tax accounts, such as your traditional IRAs, rollover IRAs, your pre-tax 403Bs, your pre-tax 457B, basically your pre-tax accounts, right? And that could be previous employer plans, that defined contribution plans. If you don't take your minimum required distribution, you may have a penalty from the IRS, and that penalty could be up to 25% of that minimum required distribution. So in other words, if you don't take that distribution, the IRS will take 25% of what you were supposed to withdraw. So it's important to understand how those minimum required distributions work and the timing of those distributions. And you think 25% is bad. They actually reduced that. It used to be 50%. Now, as you begin your withdrawal stage, make sure your investment strategy is in line with your retirement income needs, your age, and your risk tolerance. So as retirement moves closer, you may want to hold a larger portion of your savings in bond and short-term investments, and take into account the effect inflation will have on net investment returns. So to make your investment decisions easier, the UC Retirement Plan offers this UC Retirement Savings Plan fund menu, which includes a full range of asset classes designed to meet your needs no matter what type of investor you may be. So regardless of your investment preference, a key strategy for managing risk is having a well-diversified portfolio. And one solution to simplify investing are the UC Pathway funds. So the UC Pathway funds let you choose one fund based on the target date you think you will retire or the year you plan to start taking money from your accounts. The Pathway funds invest in a diversified mix of underlying stock and bond funds that gradually grow more conservative as each fund nears its target date. And when you retire, the Pathway Income Fund aims to provide income and preserve savings while seeking growth for a long retirement. So, in other words, for those of you that are hands-off investors, And some of you likely defaulted to those target date funds. Those are professionally managed funds. They're professionally managed by the Chief Investment Office of UC down in Oakland. And again, with those target date funds, so let's say you defaulted to the UC Pathway Fund based on the year closest to you turning 65. So for example, if you are going to turn 65 in the year 2030, then you defaulted to the UC Pathway 2030 Fund. If you've been at UC for 20 years, let's just say, you know, earlier they were much more aggressive. But now, as you're getting closer to that target date of 2030, it is becoming more conservative as it should be. So your asset allocation, which is your percentages of stocks, bonds, and cash, is a higher percentage of bonds than it was at the beginning. So it's being done for you where it's becoming more conservative as it should be. Just because we're on this page, a question came in. I'm sorry, did you mention where we can find these funds? You can find information on these funds on net benefits. You can click on any of your accounts, the 403B, the 457B, and that DCP account, and you can go to the investments tab and you can see all of these funds. You can click on each one. It's a hyperlink. It'll give you the information, or you can go to the myucretirement.com website and access the fund information there as well. So this question also came in. It says, what if I turn 65 in 2027? Do I choose 2030? You can choose 2030. You're right in the middle. So one way you can look at that, if you default, you're actually going to default to 2025 because they're going to default you to the one that's more conservative if you're in the middle. If you think you're going to start taking income at 2030, then you can choose 2030 or change it to 2030. It really depends on your risk tolerance, but you have full access to change your target date. And then for those that are hands-on investors, you can choose from this main fund menu and create your own asset allocation. It's really, dependent on how comfortable you are choosing your own investments. UC also offers a deferred lifetime income option, and we want to make sure that we want to let you know about this. So if you're age 62 to 69, another option to help you plan for guaranteed income is the deferred lifetime income feature available through the UC Pathway funds. So the deferred lifetime income lets you convert a portion of your UC 403B, 457B, or that UCDC, which is the defined contribution plan balance, from a select pathway fund into fixed monthly payments beginning at the age of 78 when you may need it most. You can purchase deferred lifetime income for yourself or for your spouse. So you can choose a beneficiary to receive any money you use to purchase deferred lifetime income that has not already been paid to you. The deferred lifetime income is available for purchase annually, and the purchase window will open in mid-2026. You can get all the details about this new feature, again, on myucretirement.com. Just because we're talking about investments, a question came in. How come UC throttles the type of investments we can make in our brokerage link account? It's frustrating. Who makes the investment fund decisions that Fidelity allows us to invest in? So that is made by UC. And I, can certainly understand, how it can be frustrating, especially for those that are self-managed. But part of it is, UC is your, fiduciary for your retirement plans, and not everybody is, I'll just say, investment savvy. So it's really designed as risk mitigation. And I will say that with the brokerage link account and the limitation on investments, that does not just apply to UC. That is, most companies have that throttle. A question came in, deferred lifetime option is an annuity, correct? You're absolutely right. It is an annuity. UC chooses a insurance company each year to provide this to you. It's an annuity. If it's something that you're interested in when that time frame comes, I would look into it. They have negotiated rates as well. And if it's something that you feel could be of value to you, definitely, meet with Eric or myself or one of my colleagues, and that's something that we can discuss with you as well. So let's talk about streamlining and keeping things simple, right? It can feel overwhelming to manage various accounts and plans. So you want to consider streamlining your accounts by consolidating your accounts, right? If you have accounts in more than one of the UC retirement savings program plans, again, the 403B, 457B, and that defined contribution plan, you may want to consider consolidating them into a single plan, which provides access again to low cost funds and the UC investment options. So by consolidating, also when it comes to mandatory distribution, making withdrawals, setting systematic withdrawals, keeping track of your beneficiaries, consolidating your accounts can help you manage and monitor this more easily. You can also roll over retirement savings from other employers into your UC 403B, 457B, and defined contribution plan. So again, this can help you manage and monitor your assets more easily. And you can even do this once you leave UC. So once you're retired, if you're saying to yourself, okay, now I have the time to start consolidating all of these accounts, even if you're no longer employed at UC, you can move previous employer plans into the UC plan if that's where you want to keep your accounts. So lots of options available to you. Now, every year up to retirement and all the years after, you can meet with your UC workplace financial consultants. Again, that's myself, Eric, and our team to help refine your plan and make adjustments based on your life and the changes in your life. For example, as you move to create your own paycheck, taxes are going to be a consideration. Different sources of income may be taxed at different rates. Right? As you receive benefits such as your pension, Social Security, and other reliable income, it's important to understand how they are taxed and where you will be within the tax brackets. Some accounts, such as Roth IRAs, and that would include your Roth 403B and Roth 457B, health savings accounts, those can provide tax-free income if they're qualified distributions, while others, right, such as withdrawals from your traditional IRAs and retirement plans, may be taxed as regular income. So we can help you get ready and have a conversation with your tax professional. We'll also review your current asset allocation and make sure it still works for your goals. And we can help you select the right investments and make tactical shifts to adjust for risks, market conditions, and your goals and time frame. And make sure you have a strong portfolio to create your paycheck. So there are quite a few tasks that come with retiring, so we break our planning into smaller to-do lists. It's never too early to start your planning or too late. We'll help you complete your first retirement income plan or review the one you have to see if you already have, to see if it's still best for you. So when we're looking at specific actions needed at specific ages, I would say 50 and under is quick planning, right? Write down best estimates. You can go into super save mode once you're in your 50s, right? With those catch-up contributions, and just setting up an initial planning session with Fidelity. And I say less than 50 because I don't want you to think you have to wait until you're 50 to see if you're on track for retirement, right? The earlier you start planning, the better off you're going to be. As you get into your 60s, we're going to want to do a more detailed plan, right? Determine your Social Security strategies, reassess your risk and asset allocation. Make sure that your asset allocation is lined up with your risk tolerance and when you're either going to retire or start needing to take money out of your accounts for income. And of course, building a detailed financial assessment. You want to know and see where your income is coming from in retirement and making sure you have enough to cover your expenses. And then, of course, once you're 65 and over, we're going to start wanting to talk about Medicare, discussing your retiree health insurance options with your healthcare facilitator. Of course, if you have been listening through the previous Fridays and the series, you know that you have the best healthcare facilitator at UC. Sorry, Eric, I know you don't cover UC Davis, but Garen Solbach is incredible, and he is so knowledgeable, so passionate, and you know he cares exactly about what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to medical. And of course, we also want to help prepare your portfolio for those required minimum distributions. So for next steps, we're going to have you, of course, utilize your resources. The myucretirement.com is a great website. Going and getting estimates for your pension, your voluntary retirement savings plans, again, your voluntary accounts, the 403B, 457B, and that defined contribution plan, Social Security. For Social Security, of course, Eric's going to go into detail about Social Security and the resources there and how you can get your estimates. And then, of course, if you want assistance over the phone, and this slide will show up later as well, but Fidelity can be contacted on demand through this 800 number here. With that, we're gonna pause for just a moment. I want to make sure all of the questions have been answered through this session at least, and then we'll take a short break, and then that'll give us a chance to let Eric share his screen and then transition to Social Security.
Tim, there are a few questions here that I know you mentioned a few as you kind of presented, which was great, but I can read off of a few of the questions that are still remaining.
Perfect.
In the chat if you'd like to answer them. But one of the questions here was in regards to the UC, the 457B plan and the withdrawal options. Is there a minimum age or is there a penalty once you separate or retire from UC? Can you talk about the withdrawal options with the 457 plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the 450, and that's a great question, actually. Not that any of the other ones aren't great, but the 457B does have different rules. So there is no, I shouldn't say there's an age minimum or penalty for 457 withdrawal once you retire. One of the benefits of the 457B is with your pre-tax contributions, no matter what age you are, you can access that account and withdraw without a penalty. So most of the time you hear with retirement accounts that you have to be 59 and a half. That's not the case with the 457B. So let's say that you are lucky enough to retire at the age of 50, you can withdraw from the 457B without a penalty. But I will say there is an age minimum to where you have to start withdrawing no matter what. So if you leave UC at any age, you have flexibility. But again, once you reach the age of 73, you will have those mandatory required distributions, and you will have to start withdrawing at the age of 73. But prior to 73, you have full flexibility.
I just want to highlight the key word you said there, which is your pre-tax contributions in the 457 plan. So
Yes.
those are the source or the type of funds that are available to withdraw at any age as long as you are separated or retired from UC. But if you do have Roth contributions in your 457 plan, any growth or earnings on that Roth contribution to be able to access those funds without taxes, which is the benefit of the Roth tax-free growth, you do have to wait till 59 and a half, even if it is in the 457 plan. So any pre-tax contributions, like Kim said, is kind of the key word for when you can access that account, any funds in that account at any age, as long as you're separated.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that, Eric. And one more thing I actually should highlight is if you're under 59 and a half and you want to have the flexibility to access your 457B, you need to leave those funds in the 457B. So in other words, if you were thinking about rolling your 457B into a rollover IRA and you're not 59 and a half, you would lose that withdrawal feature. So again, these are all conversations that are worth having. And thank you for asking that question. That doesn't always come up, actually.
All right, Kim. I know that the individual who asked the question about the brokerage link, about kind of sounds like wishing they had the ability to invest in almost anything they wanted with those UC plans. And the brokerage link within UC, for anyone who's not familiar with it, does allow you to invest in some other investment options outside of the core main 27 choices that UC has kind of created for you. UC does have a fiduciary responsibility to kind of have these investment options that are registered under the SEC, under the Investment Act of 1940. So there's transparency on the type of investments that are available in the plan. So a lot of mutual funds, a lot of ETFs are available in that brokerage link. Not all ETFs, not all mutual funds, and not individual stocks. So it is an ability to have some other investments, but it is, and as Kim mentioned, pretty common in the workplace for type of retirement plans, even outside UC, that it's a very similar setup there. Kim, here's a question that it's about if you're taking withdrawals from your accounts and maybe you come across a little bit of market volatility. Do you ignore that, what the market is doing? Do you reevaluate? Do you adjust? Maybe a couple tips on how to kind of ride through market volatility when you are in that distribution or withdrawal phase of your accounts, and to feel comfortable that that you're taking money out and your accounts may be dropping in value a little bit. Can you maybe comment on the withdrawal strategy or thoughts, or how to navigate those markets when they're a little volatile, because it happens, right? I mean, we're seeing a little bit here this week. Tariff scare last year, 2022, the market was down 20%. Financial crisis, right? So that's just nature of investing, is some volatility and when the market dips. But any kind of thoughts there on that question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, we absolutely would take that into consideration. And that's why it's important to have a prudent withdrawal rate, right? So when we talk about withdrawal rates, you're usually hearing the 4% range, maybe the 5% range, depending on, your age when you start taking withdrawals. But that's exactly why you stick to a, roughly 4% withdrawal range, because the market is going to be going up and down. And if you begin taking your withdrawals with a down market, then that's going to impact your withdrawals in the future and your account balance. So again, when it comes to market volatility, which is certainly something we experience, and another reason to be invested appropriately based on your age. So, when the market is, in volatile times as it is right now, if you are too aggressively invested, then your portfolio is really going to feel it. But if you are balanced based on, again, your age, and when you start planning to take withdrawals, then you're going to have more conservative investments. They're going to help with that as well. So those are all types of conversations we would have when planning for you to start taking withdrawals. And that's the type of planning that we do for that. So, you're right. It is hard to feel comfortable taking money out when you see the market dip. So really, we do strategize those withdrawals for you to plan for that.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Kim. Someone posted a link to the deferred lifetime income. So thank you to whoever did that there. Question, is there a limit on when I can roll over a 403B from another employer to my UC 403B?
There is no time limit. And again, you can even do that after you retire from UC. So you're still able to roll over previous employer plans into the UC plan after retirement.
Great. Can the DCP, so the UC DCP, which stands for Defined Contribution Plan, be rolled into the UC 403B or an IRA if I am still an active employee, or does the DCP plan have to remain a solo account until retirement?
Yeah, at this time, it still has to remain a solo account funded until retirement. So as an active employee, you are not able to move out your pre-tax 403B, your pre-tax DCP into a 403B or an IRA. It has to stay there until you leave. You can only move out your after-tax DCP if that's applicable. into a Roth IRA.
All right, Kim, another question. If this individual has a VA TSP account, TSP stands for,
Thrift savings plan?
Yeah, Thrift Savings Plan. And is that an account that's eligible to bring into their UC savings, UC retirement account?
Yes. You
Yeah.
can move your VA TSP.
Yeah, UC allows any type of retirement account that is pre-tax, tax deferred, TSP, 401ks, IRAs. They allow any accounts like that that you have outside that you would like to consolidate or move into your UC plan to reduce the number of accounts, to simplify. The plan allows it. As long as where the money is allows you to remove it, there's no restrictions or things. But yeah, the UC plan does allow it. Great. Okay. Sounds like we can continue using Fidelity advising services after retirement. I think you touched on that, Kim, but
Yes.
the ability to schedule appointments with us, attend webinars, do these services continue?
Absolutely.
Post-retirement.
So when you are retired, you can still continue to use us as a resource, whether that is the one-on-one consultations, attending the live webinars. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Next question is about how to schedule an appointment with Fidelity for a planning session. And if you can go back maybe to the last slide, Kim, because I think it was listed there. So there are two ways you can schedule an appointment with us. One is by calling Fidelity, and there is the number that is listed there, 800-558-9182. That is a retirement group with Fidelity who helps support UC, and they're planners as well. So you can certainly have a planning appointment with them on the phone. But that group also has access to our schedule, my schedule, Kim's schedule, and our colleagues who are dedicated to UC, and can schedule a virtual or Zoom appointment or a phone appointment with one of us. So you can make a phone call. You can also do it online on myucretirement.com. If you click from the homepage, if you click on contacts, there'll be a link with the ability for you to schedule an appointment with one of the workplace financial consultants, one of us from Fidelity. So yeah, either on the phone or online. All right, I think we still have a few more here. Let's see, the slide up now says Fidelity doesn't provide tax advice, but didn't a previous slide talk about assisting us with a tax strategy?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, Kim, yeah.
You're absolutely right. Unfortunately, we do not provide tax advice. We are not tax advisors, but talking about a tax strategy is different and something that should be addressed. And I'll just use an example from appointments that happen frequently. And I'm sure Eric sees the exact same thing, is that, when we're going through your retirement income plan, I see so many times where by the time you're in your required mandatory distribution, and sometimes that's all people are taking out because their pension and Social Security is covering their expenses, that those required mandatory distributions, when it comes to being 75 and older, some of those distributions are incredibly high and really catapulting them into the next tax bracket. And so strategies might be thinking about, how to mitigate taxes, just looking at your plan and working with someone to come up with a strategy to mitigate your taxes later on, but then having the conversation with your tax advisor on where you're going to get the best tax benefit and does that make sense. So those are really, we're talking about strategies, but everyone's tax situation is different and we don't know what your tax return actually looks like. So really just giving you some information and then having you consult with your tax person to make sure it makes sense as well.
All right, thank you, Kim. Next question is in regards to RMD. So the question is, are those who are born after 1960, yes. So the RMD currently today, its age, the year you turn 73 is the year where you have to start your RMDs, your required minimum distributions, the required amounts to withdraw of any pre-tax tax deferred accounts. However, that is changing in the year 2033. So that is the year when it is changing to 75, which that is for individuals who are born 1960 or later. So Yes, you are correct in that. 73 today, but changing to 75 in the year 2033.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And I have been saying 73 because it's currently 73. And
Yeah,
as Eric mentioned, in 2033, it's going to 75, but I was just trying to keep it more simplified here. But
yeah.
also when we're doing our retirement income plan with you, it knows your date of birth. So it's going to know if your distribution is at 75 as well. So all of that information will be accurate going through the retirement income planning tool.
All right, Kim, next, does UC honor the rule of 50? And if so, does it matter which fund withdrawals are made from brokerage link 403B DCP plan?
Are is that do you mean the rule of 55? I'm not actually familiar with the rule of 50.
Yeah,
It's
s- same. I was wondering the same thing. If that person wants to,
yeah, if you want to
maybe
clarify,
that's yeah.
but if you're
Um,
referring to the rule of 55, UC does absolutely honor it. And those are withdrawals specifically from the 403B. And the rule of 55 means that if you separate and leave UC, no longer getting a paycheck, not your pension, an actual paycheck, then you can withdraw from your 403B without the IRS penalty. And it is specific to the 403B.
we do have clarification that it is age that was a question for the age 55 rule for
Okay,
that.
perfect.
So, yeah.
Great.
Okay.
And then you kind of, asked about brokerage link. As long as your brokerage link is tied to the 403B, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because that's still
And you can't
considered part of your 403B.
and you can't withdraw directly from the brokerage link. So if you do want to withdraw from any funds from the brokerage link, you would actually have to transfer them back into the main 403B plan, and then that's where withdrawals would come from. But the brokerage link is, yeah, it's under the umbrella of the 403B. So that applies. The age 55 rule applies to that. Let's see here, Kim. Does Fidelity charge to manage the retirement account? Can you consolidate other financial plans, family trusts, employer stock options, et cetera, into the retirement account?
So Fidelity doesn't charge to manage the retirement account. There is a maintenance fee on, if you're referring to, I'm assuming the UC plan, the 403B, 457B, and that DCP account. There's a $7.25 fee a quarter. That's a maintenance fee. But there's no fee to actually manage the retirement account. Now, I will just go a step further and say that the investments themselves, so if we're looking at, I'm going to go back to the investment slide here. So these funds, oh, it's farther than I thought, sorry. These funds do have a fund expense, but they're incredibly low. So when we're talking about those UC pathway funds, and again, they're being, professionally managed by the Chief Investment Office of UC, some of them are 0.03. It's not a fee you see, but there is a fee associated with it as the fund expense. Almost all funds have an expense, but they're incredibly low. But when it comes to consolidating the accounts, they have to be retirement plans. So when you're talking about family trusts, a retirement account cannot be in the name of a trust. Stock options, it has to be a retirement account. So hopefully that helps. So in other words, you would have to have a pre-tax retirement account, roll into the 403B. If you have a previous employer Roth plan, that can go into the 403B, not an actual Roth IRA. So when it comes to Roth, it's a little bit different, but all pre-tax retirement accounts can go into the 403Bs, the 457Bs, and the DCP. But a retirement account can only be held in an individual name.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Kim. We'll kind of keep going through them here. And I have the next question is I have a fixed annuity account that I contribute to. What is the maximum amount that I can contribute per year?
So
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, annuities are insurance products and they're not held within the UC plan. So I mean, if it's a fixed annuity and it's not a retirement annuity, then the amount you can contribute really should be either unlimited or based on what that annuity contract states. But if it is a retirement annuity, it would be based on what contribution limits are. Would you agree, Eric?
Yeah, I would definitely defer that question to the insurance company that has your annuity contract because yeah, depending on the type of funding, is it non-retirement, non-qualified money, or is it qualified or an IRA annuity that has limits to it? And so yeah, there's um yeah, so I think it just depends. So definitely wherever you hold that annuity and the insurance company that is record keeping it for you, just give them a call and you can ask them if there's any limits to put that in each year.
Yes.
Okay, next question. Can you move your 403B funds into a 457 ahead of time in order to take advantage of the early withdrawal pre-tax funds? So this sounds like a follow-up question to that 457 account. If you want to take it, Kim, or I can address it, whichever you prefer.
Oh no, I'm happy to take it. So,
Okay.
common question, of course, but you cannot. So the 403B rules would follow, so that you would not be able to move your 403B funds into the 457B to take advantage of being able to withdraw penalty free at any age.
Perfect. Okay. All right, next question. Are Social Security estimate payments taxed, or is that amount you receive monthly? So we'll certainly get into Social Security in a little more detail for the next segment. But so Social Security, when you start receiving your Social Security, and so there in California, in most states, there is no state taxation on your Social Security payment. However, there is some federal taxes that will be withheld up to a maximum of 85% of your Social Security benefit will be taxed at your federal tax rate. So not an 85% federal tax, 85% of the benefit will be taxed at your federal rate. So that's the highest that it will be. So no state tax. Any Medicare premiums will be, once you're on Medicare, those will be deducted from your Social Security benefit as well, but no state tax in California for it. Okay. All right, Kim, if you have an account that is subject to RMD, can you be specific with which funds are liquidated for the annual distribution? For example, if you have both cash and stock mutual funds in the account, can you ask that the withdrawal be made from the cash portion of the account? This option could dampen the volatility issue just discussed.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Eric. Does does it require a specific form to be completed to do that?
Well, so so assuming this is from the UC Retirement Savings Program, 403B, 457, DCP, so they are going to be done proportionately. So if you have a stock position, cash position, and if you set up like a once a year automatic RMDs, or you initiate a withdrawal online, it's going to be withdrawn proportionately from the account. However, if you do call Fidelity, make a phone call to that number, the retirement group, you can specify which fund to satisfy your RMD with. So if market is volatile and you have a stock position that you want to leave and not sell for this year's RMD or next year's RMD, you would just need to call Fidelity and request that the withdrawal is made from the cash portion. Otherwise, it will be done proportionally. So it can be done. You just have to call Fidelity's retirement group to do that.
Good. They made it easier than having to fill out a form.
Yeah.
But at least it can be done. And just as Eric said, it's not automatic. So you do have to call Fidelity.
All right. As a retiree, can you deduct any of your pension income into the 403B account like you do while working?
You cannot, unfortunately. You can only fund the UC accounts, right? Again, the 403B, 457B, and DCP as an active employee through payroll.
Right. All right. Next question. My current contribution is pre-tax for my 403B. can I change my contribution to Roth voluntary without a penalty?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. So you can simply go into the contributions tab on net benefits and update your contribution. So you can zero out your pre-tax if you'd like, and then update your Roth contributions.
All right. Does Fidelity also do estate and living trust planning?
We actually do help with that. Yes. If that's something that you're interested in, I would absolutely have a conversation again with myself or Eric, and so we can get that initiated for you. But that is a service that Fidelity provides.
Yeah, we can't actually draw up the estate planning documents like a living trust or will, power of attorney, healthcare directives, but those are conversations that in kind of the bigger picture planning that we can talk about. There's actually a legal service through UC. It's the ARAG that is available that gives you access to estate planning attorneys to help draw up the documents. But as far as kind of bigger planning conversations and estate planning and living trusts and beneficiaries, those are conversations that, as Kim said, we can have with you. Not sure if I was asked already as I joined, does Fidelity assist with Roth conversions?
Oh, it hasn't been asked, and actually we didn't discuss it, but yes, yes, Fidelity does assist with Roth conversions. And so if that's something that you're interested in doing, then you can, again, call this 800 number that's listed on the screen.
Yeah, and just to add a little more to that, just as of December 1st of 2025, a lot of you may have received a communication that that is an option within the UC plan now, the 403B and the 457, to do an in-plan Roth conversion. So if you have any pre-tax dollars in your 403B, pre-tax dollars in your 457, and you want to convert some of that to a Roth within the plan, that's a new feature as of December 1st. You do have to call Fidelity's retirement group, and we can do the conversion for you. Can't direct you or give advice how much to convert, but just give us when you give us a call, know how much you're thinking about converting, and we can take care of the conversion for you over the phone. Okay. On the Fidelity website account, I now have a link to a Fidelity team identified as premium services. What is this service, and do I have to pay extra for this?
So generally our premium services is they're letting you know that you are qualified to have a one-on-one relationship with a financial consultant, and there is no fee for that.
Yeah. And you may have some accounts outside with Fidelity outside your UC retirements, whether that's a trust or a brokerage or an IRA or other accounts that are connected to Fidelity as well. Can you make in-plan just answered that. Can you make in-plan conversions for your 403B or DCP plans? So the in-plan conversions are only for the 403B and the 457 plan. There is no Roth component to the DCP plan. So any pre-tax money in the DCP just is going to stay pre-tax in the DCP. There's cannot convert within that plan. However, Kim mentioned earlier, if you have any after-tax contributions in the DCP plan, that is something, a balance that you can convert at any time to a Roth IRA so that those contributions can grow tax-free moving forward. But the in-plan conversions are only for the 403B and 457 plan. Are you saying I can convert a classic IRA to a non-taxable account?
I mean, yes, you can convert a classic IRA to a Roth IRA, which would be non-taxable after the qualifications are met. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just if you do that, just be aware that that would be a taxable event when you do a Roth conversion. The amount that you are converting is going to be subject to ordinary income tax in the year you do the conversion. And so you pay the taxes on that when you do your tax returns, but the benefit is now getting into a Roth and it grows tax-free moving forward. So non-taxable account meaning Roth account, but yeah. So, okay.
And actually just kind of just to piggyback on that,
Yeah.
even converting or, moving your traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. And so here again, we're saying, yes, that's something you can do. And as Eric's saying, that's a fully taxable event. And that's why we can give strategies that would include taxable events. And that's where we say we would want you to consult with a tax advisor to make sure that the amount you're doing would make sense, or is there a threshold you should stay below so it doesn't bump you into the next tax bracket? And that's where we have a strategy for you, but we would advise you to consult with a tax person to make sure that it is right for you.
All right, another question just came in. When I retire, I will have a cap money. Can this money be rolled into a Roth or another account without being taxed?
So
Yeah.
oh, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, yeah. So if you have a cap balance, which was a payment from UC in the early 1990s, the early 2000s, it is not an account that you see when you log into Fidelity, but it is when you log into UC Raise, or it's a UC's record keeping it. It is considered a pre-tax balance. And when you retire and going through the retirement process, is you are required to make a decision of what you would like to do with that cap money. You can roll it into a Roth account. However, because it is pre-tax and Roths are funded with after-tax money, that would be a conversion, which means that you would pay taxes on that cap balance to get it into the Roth account. You can also just indicate that you want to roll your cap balance into your 403B, your 457, your DCP plan, and that then would just automatically roll into the account 4 or 6 weeks after you retire, and that avoids paying tax on the money at that time. You can also roll to an IRA, rollover IRA or traditional IRA. You can take a distribution, and that would be taxable. But just know that the Roth is going to be a taxable event, but a 403B, 457 DCP rollover IRA keeps it from being taxed at the time of when you transfer the money or roll it over. All right, Kim, here's a question. I contribute to my 403B in an outside Roth IRA. If I can afford to contribute more, is it better to contribute to the Roth or the 403B?
Well, I mean, that depends on really two things. With your Roth IRA, if you're maxing that out already and you want to contribute more, then your only option will be the Roth 403B, right? Because you have a much higher contribution limit in your 403B, right? So if you are under 50, you can contribute up to 24,500 per year into your 403B Roth. If you're over 50, you can do another 8,000. So now you have a total of 32,500 that you can do in the Roth. Whereas in the Roth IRA, you're limited to 7,500 for under 50. And then with catch up, you can do a total of 8,600. And then of course there's also income limitations with the Roth. But if you're eligible to contribute to a Roth and you're not going to max it out, it really depends on the investments. If you like the investments that are in your Roth, then keep contributing to the Roth. If you like the investments in your 403B, then that's where you contribute. I think that's the end of our
got through
questions.
those. Got through all those great questions. A lot of good ones.
Yeah, oh, there's another one that came in. Okay. Um, for converting 403B, 457B over to Roth, can we do it gradually in phases to minimize the tax impact, assuming it needs to be done before a certain age or retiring? You can absolutely do that in phases, and it does not need to be done before a certain age or before retiring. So you have, a lot of flexibility with those conversions. And it would absolutely make sense to minimize that tax impact. And again, that's where we would refer you to a tax advisor. But yeah, that's an important concept. All right. So at this point, we have answered all of the questions that came in. We'll go ahead and take a break. Why don't we take a 5-minute break until 10:20? And then at that time, Eric will cover Social Security, and then we'll do another Q&A. And if you have questions that didn't get answered in this first one or you think about them later, we can get to those later. Don't worry about that. But right now we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll see you back at 10:20.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Eric. See you in 5 minutes.
All right, I think it's been 5 minutes, and Kim, can I just do an audio check with you here?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay. For some reason, I'm not able to pull up my Zoom is acting up a little bit once I shared my screen. So the Q&A, I can't get to the Q&A unless I uh, change my setting um, on my slides here. So I may have you kind of, if you could really manage that Q&A. And I know a couple questions came in. If we want to answer those really quickly, and then I can get into Social Security.
Sure, there were two questions that came in. Where can I find more info about pros and cons to convert to Roth? I actually was just about to send you a link. Well, I'll send you a link in just a moment. And it's a Fidelity link on, whether, converting makes sense and some things to think about. And then the second question that came in is, my husband retired from UC Davis 5 years ago, but he has a retirement account from a past job. How easy would it be to move this money into his UC Davis retirement plan? But I need to schedule an appointment with Fidelity. And I'm happy to take it since you're going to be talking in just a moment here for quite a few minutes. But
I think about going for like 3 hours, if that's okay.
So it is very easy. So you don't need to schedule an appointment. I'll put that 800 number in there for you, and a link to rolling over previous employer accounts. But really, he would just need to contact his previous employer record keeper, so wherever it's held, wherever he's getting statements from, and let them know he wants to roll over this account to his UC Davis plan. And generally, they'll send him paperwork. And then once you get that paperwork, if you need assistance with it, Fidelity can help you with that. So I'll send you a link for that as well. And that's it. Those are the two.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I hope everybody had a few minutes to grab a snack, grab some water, go to the restroom. I was kidding. It's not going to be a 3-hour presentation on Social Security, although there's probably enough information in the system to talk for 3 hours, but we're not going to do that today. Thanks for those who are still with us. Appreciate you joining today. So I'm excited to cover the next session, and what I'm going to be reviewing with you is a specific source of income that will be part of all of your retirement income plans, and that is Social Security. Social Security was signed into law in 1935 by President Roosevelt, and it was created to provide a monthly lifetime income for retirees age 65 and older. Social Security has gone through a lot of changes over its 90+ year history. The full retirement age was changed from age 65 to between age 66 and 67. There have been some loopholes that have been closed over the last couple of decades. Last year in 2025, there was the Social Security Fairness Act that repealed the WEP, which was the windfall elimination provision, and GPO, which is the government pension offset. So there seems to constantly always be some changes going on with the program, and there will likely be some more changes that will happen to Social Security over the next 10 years. All the changes are to ensure its health, its solvency, it's to provide those monthly Social Security payments to retirees throughout their retirement and their life. There is nothing simple about Social Security. It is complex. It is complicated. In fact, there are over 2,000 rules to the program. Now, we are not going to cover all 2,000 today, but what I would like to go over with you and review are 5 important questions that you're going to want to ask yourself and get answers to before you claim your benefit. Question number 1, what age should I claim my Social Security benefit versus what age can I claim? May be the same age, but also may not be the same age. Number 2 is how can I claim my retirement benefits? Number three is, where do I get information? How do I know where can I go to look up how much I may get from Social Security in retirement? If you have questions or looking for some um, uh, some calculators or some just any information about Social Security and all 2,000 rules of the program, where do you get information about them? So we'll talk about that. Number four is, what do I need to get my benefits, or how do I qualify to be eligible to receive a Social Security benefit? And then number five is, where does Social Security fit in my overall plan? So first one is, when should I claim? So a lot of you may know the earliest age that you can claim your Social Security benefit, and that is age 62. But is that the right time, the right age for you? So there are a lot of factors, considerations that you're going to want to think about and have conversations about before making this decision. One of those considerations is, how much income do you need in your retirement? And a good way to determine how much income you need is by doing some expense work, by doing some budgeting. Kim talked a lot about budgeting and kind of identifying, when you think about your retirement expenses, what are they going to look like? How are they going to be different from where your expenses are currently? Your essential expenses, which is your monthly, your must-haves, your housing, utilities, groceries, medical. Also help identifying your discretionary. Those are kind of the wanna-haves, right? Your travel and dining out. And kind of coming up with an idea of what that's going to look like for you and your household, of how much income you're going to need in retirement. Also, what other income sources are available in your household? Besides Social Security, do you have the UC pension? Do you have the other retirement accounts like your 403B, your 457, your DCP plans? Do you have any IRAs or other stocks or mutual funds or investments that could also be part of your retirement plan? Do you plan to work in retirement and maybe have some earned income that could help kind of bridge that gap while you delay your Social Security benefit? Because the longer you wait to claim your Social Security, the higher the benefit is going to be for you. Another consideration is your life expectancy and longevity. Now none of us know exactly how long we're going to live, but do you have family members who have lived into their 90s or possibly hundreds? What does your personal health look like? That's also a consideration, and when determining your life expectancy and longevity for you. Because claiming early, and as early as 62, which is that earliest age to claim, locks in a permanent reduction of up to 25 to 30% reduction in payment. Now, that is the earliest age, but the maximum age, all the way to the right on this slide, is age 70. And that is the maximum age for when you can claim your Social Security benefit. And there's a big difference of how much you're going to receive between age 62 and 70. There's the full retirement age, which is going to be between the ages of 66 and 67. It depends on the year that you were born. Your full retirement age, or FRA, is the age for when Social Security looks at when you would receive 100% of your benefit. It is the age for when Social Security determines what your benefit is going to be, or calculates your benefit, and then they adjust it up or down based on when you claim. So age 62 to 70, and it increases by about 6 or 7% per year between age 62 and your full retirement age. And then from your full retirement age to age 70, you earn what are called delayed retirement credits. And that's equals to about 8% increase each year that you delay it. So the longer you wait, the higher the benefit. There is one exception to the age 62 rule, and that is age 60. And that is the earliest age for surviving spouse benefits. You also see something there right in the middle that says age 65. So that was the change in the early 1980s. That was when the full retirement age changed from 65 to 66 to 67. That is the age when you become eligible for Medicare. So full retirement age for Social Security and Medicare used to align. But in anticipation of the baby boomers retiring, and this was one of the changes to ensure health and solvency of the Social Security program, the full retirement age had to be pushed out. Okay, how can you claim your retirement, your Social Security benefits? So there are 4 ways to claim your Social Security benefit. 1 is as an individual worker, 2 as a spouse, 3 as an ex-spouse, and 4 is as a surviving spouse. So an individual worker is simply defined as you are going to be claiming your Social Security benefit off of your work history. So anywhere between 62 and the maximum benefit age at age 70 is when you will claim your Social Security benefit. And when you're going to claim off of your own work history, also you're going to look at your other resources that you have available. Your pension, your retirement accounts, your retirement savings program, work in retirement. Maybe you're still working at UC at 62 and going to continue to 63, 64, 65, and you don't need to claim your Social Security benefit until you retire. So there's a lot of factors, a lot of planning that goes in to making the decision of when to claim your Social Security benefit as an individual worker off of your own work history. And those are things that Kim and I can have conversations with you about, is based on your plan, your projected retirement age, your other resources, your expenses. When is a good age, a good time for you to consider claiming your Social Security benefit? The second way is as a spouse. So in order to claim a spousal benefit, you need to be married. Your spouse needs to be enrolled in Social Security in order to claim a spousal benefit. The maximum spousal benefit is half of your spouse's full retirement age amount. And if you claim a spousal benefit before you turn your full retirement age, it will be a reduced amount. So it will be less than 50% of your spouse's full retirement age benefit. So it's a little confusing. So let's look at an example here. So this example here is assuming that you have a work record and that you are married. So if we look on the left chart there, left bar, and it says, okay, let's say your spouse's PIA. And PIA is an acronym that means primary insurance amount, which is the amount that is received at full retirement age amount, at full retirement age. So your spouse's full retirement age benefit is going to be $1,800. So as a spouse, you are entitled to 50% of that, which equals $900. So let's say that on your work history, you have earned enough credits. Your payment on your work history is going to be $650. So as a spousal benefit, you're entitled to $900, right? So what Social Security will do is add $250 to your $650 as the spousal addition to bring it up to $900. Because as a spouse, you are entitled to at least 50% of your spouse's full retirement age amount. If your payment on your work history exceeds 50% of your spouse's amount, so if your payment on your work history is $1,000 a month, you will just claim on your own work history. There's no spousal benefit to be had because your payment on your work history is greater than half of your spouse's. Let's go the other way. Let's say that you didn't earn enough credits to receive any Social Security benefit. So your payment is zero on your work history. You are still entitled to $900 per month. So 50% of your spouse's full retirement age. And that is the maximum benefit, spousal benefit. So same rules apply for an ex-spouse. However, there's some certain conditions that have to be met. One, you had to have been married for 10 years. You have not remarried. Both you and your ex-spouse are at least age 62, and you have been divorced for 2+ years, or your ex is claiming their Social Security benefit. So if these conditions have been met, you may be entitled to a ex-spousal benefit. Now, again, it cannot exceed 50% of your ex-spouse's full retirement age amount. And if you claim an ex-spousal benefit younger than your full retirement age, 66 to 67, it will be reduced. So it'll be less than 50%. So if you are entitled to this, you can work with the Social Security Administration. You can set up an appointment. You can talk to them. And if you provide the appropriate documentation, a marriage certificate, divorce decree, your ex's Social Security number, they may need some other required proof and documentation, but you can go into Social Security, work with them, claim an ex-spousal benefit, and your ex-spouse will not even know about it, and it will not impact how much they are receiving. So as long as those conditions are met and your payment on your work history is less than half of theirs, then you may be entitled to an ex-spousal benefit. Okay, another way that you may be able to claim a benefit is as a surviving spouse or a surviving ex-spouse. So if you are married and both you and your spouse are claiming your Social Security benefit, if the spouse who is receiving the higher benefit passes away first, the surviving spouse will then step into his or her shoes and continue with that higher payment for the rest of their life. So the higher of the two survives for as long as one of you two are alive. We're going to talk about a little bit later some possible strategies as you're thinking about when is the right time to claim Social Security. And if you're married, it may be worth considering one of you delaying it and possibly the higher earner delaying it to get a higher benefit, knowing that that's going to last for as long as one of you two are alive. Now, you can also receive an surviving ex-spousal benefit. So if the conditions were met, that you were married for 10+ years and you did not remarry before age 60. So if those conditions are met and your ex-spouse dies before you and they were receiving a higher Social Security benefit, you can then step into his or her shoes and continue to receive that one for the rest of your life. Yours would drop off. So you don't receive what you were receiving plus your surviving spouse. But if your surviving spouse is higher or ex-spouse, yours will drop off and you'll continue with the higher one for the rest of your life. So there's a lot of nuances to this. A lot of factors and conditions have to be met. But I just wanted to share this with you so that if you think you're eligible for either a surviving ex-spouse or an ex-spouse benefit, or if your spouse who is earning a higher benefit dies before you, know that you may be eligible for that higher amount for the rest of your life. So the surviving benefits are available as early as age 60. Early claims will be reduced, but there may be a need at age 60 for some income from Social Security as a surviving spouse. And you can switch to your own at a later date. So you can claim a surviving spousal benefit, start receiving Social Security, and then later, either at your full retirement age, 66 to 67, or possibly later or closer to age 70, you can then switch to your own benefit. So you can receive a surviving spousal benefit, let yours keep growing with your age, and switch to your own at a later time. So this is something that you're responsible for notifying and working with the Social Security Administration with. Okay, where do you get more information? So Social Security website is ssa.gov. So this is the website we consider the supermarket for all information, Social Security information. If you have never logged into ssa.gov, I would encourage you to do that. You know, we used to receive statements from Social Security every year around your birthday. We would get Social Security statement in the mail. It had your estimates for what you would receive at age 62, your full retirement age, age 70. It had your earnings record history, and but they don't send that anymore. So now you need to go onto the website ssa.gov, and you could retrieve your estimates so that you can do some planning and have an idea of what you're going to receive monthly from the Social Security Administration. They're going to have your earnings history. They're going to have tax forms. You could update your direct deposit. There's going to be calculators. I find that the search button on this website is very user-friendly. So if there's a particular question or topic that you're looking for about Social Security, type in some keywords in the search button, and it'll bring up some links from the website where you can get that information. ssa.gov. UC and Fidelity also have some great resources for you. So on myucretirement.com, there's going to be some Social Security information and articles. Also on fidelity.com, there are also some great information about the Social Security program and claiming strategies and thoughts about when the right time may be for you to claim it. So myucretirement.com, also fidelity.com. There's some great information and resources for you. All right, question 4. What do you need to get my benefits, or how do you qualify for Social Security? Well, first you need to pay into Social Security. So you being a UC employee, you do pay into Social Security. This is called part of your FICA taxes or your FICA wages. And so you could look on a pay stub and you could see a withholding. It's not going to necessarily say Social Security tax, but it may say OASDI on your pay stub. And that stands for Old Age Survivors Disability Insurance, which is your Social Security tax. Social Security tax that you pay is 6.2%. UC is also paying 6.2% on your behalf to the Social Security program. Now, you're also going to see a Medicare deduction, 1.45%. So Social Security and Medicare, they're managed centrally. Those are your FICA taxes. So 6.2 Social Security, 1.45 Medicare. So you do pay into Social Security through UC and other employers. Most employers have you pay your Social Security tax. There are some employers out there where you don't. My wife is an elementary school teacher, and so she's part of the CalSTRS retirement. She doesn't pay into Social Security. So that is one of the few employers, school districts and teachers, that they are a non-covered employer, meaning they do not pay into Social Security, but you do. You pay into Social Security, you also pay into your pension. So sometimes I get a question is my Social Security, my pension going to be impacted by each other? Will my Social Security be reduced because of my UC pension? The answer to that is no. You pay into both, you're going to receive both. So you also have to earn 40 credits. Once you earn 40 credits with Social Security, your foot is in the door. You are now eligible and qualified to receive a Social Security benefit. So 1 credit is equal to $1,890 of earnings. And you can earn up to 4 credits per calendar year. You can earn all 4 of those credits in the first quarter, the first month, the middle of the year, but the calendar year, the maximum amount of credits is 4 credits. So essentially you need to have 10 years of work history, earning at least 4 credits per year. And once you have done that, you qualify for a Social Security benefit. And of course, you need to reach age 62, right? That is the earliest age for when you can claim your Social Security benefit. All right, so your full retirement age. You may go online, you may look at an old statement, and your full retirement age may look a little odd. Like, why does it say 66 in 2 months or 4 months or 6 months? Why isn't it just 67 or 60, 66 or 67? Well, it's based on the year you were born. So this was that change that happened in the early 80s, where it was changed from 65 to between 66 and 67. So if you were born in 1955, your full retirement age is 66 and 2 months. 1956, 66 and 4 months. So every year it keeps increasing by 2 months until you get to 1960 or later. For anyone born after 1960, your full retirement age is 67. So this may be why you see 66 in some months on your Social Security statement for your full retirement age. It has to do with the year you were born. All right, how does Social Security come up with this monthly amount, like how much you're going to receive from them? Well, Social Security, it's very complicated how they come up with that. But essentially, what they do is they look at almost your entire work history. Or more specifically, they look at your 35 highest earning years, whether that's with UC, all with UC, part with UC, other employers. To Social Security, it doesn't matter. It's just what are your 35 highest earning years over the course of your career? And what UC does, or excuse me, what Social Security does is then take those 35 highest earning years and they add them together and they come up with this big number. And then they take this big number and they divide it by 35 for 35 years. And then they divide it by 12 for 12 months. And then they come up with what's called your average index monthly earnings and apply a formula. The actuaries then determine, based on that average over your 35 years, your average monthly index earnings, they apply a calculation or formula to it that then comes up with, here's what your claiming age or what your amount is that you're going to receive at your full retirement age 66 to 67. And then that amount is adjusted, maybe down if you claim it younger than your full retirement age, and possibly as much as a 30% reduction if you claim it at 62. Or if you wait until 70, it could be an increase of up to 32% per year, because those delayed retirement credits, waiting past your full retirement age, it increases 8% per year. So 35 highest earnings years. It's very different from your UC pension that uses the average of your highest 36 consecutive months, right? Your highest average 3 consecutive years. The Social Security, it doesn't need to be consecutive, just your highest 35 years. There could be some zeros or low earning years at some point over those 35 years. So it doesn't need to be consecutive. It's just your highest 35 years. All right, final question here is, where does Social Security fit in my plan? Well, when you claim your Social Security, it can certainly have an impact on your savings. Social Security is one income source for you of your plan. Here's just a hypothetical example. And this is an example that you've done some retirement planning. You've kind of figured out that your essential expenses are going to be around $4,000 per month. Well, your full retirement age and your Social Security, let's say that hypothetically it's $1,800 per month. Well, then your portfolio or your pension or other sources are going to have to come up with another $2,200 in addition to your Social Security to cover your essential expenses at $4,000 per month. If you wait till age 70, that amount goes up to $2,232 per month. Then your portfolio or other sources goes down to $1,768. And if you claim your Social Security benefit at 62, that reduction 1,260, then is you're relying more on your portfolio, more on other resources in addition to your Social Security to cover your $4,000 per month. So it's showing there's a big difference, right? Between 62 and 70, 77% difference in income. Now, I know if you claim Social Security at 62 versus 70, there's 8 years there where you're going to receive that 1260, right? So, you're waiting till 70 for that higher benefit, but what about all those years where you can claim at the lower amount? And that is a good consideration. But when you're looking at your big picture retirement, and hopefully all of you have a long retirement, and this is where coming in with your health, your family history, your other resources, because if you plan to live into your 80s, 90s, possibly 100, waiting, or at least considering to wait to claim your Social Security benefit, could end up working out where you cumulatively will receive more over the course of your retirement, even though you've missed out on some payments early in those early years. But deciding when to claim, it's I and Kim too, and we meet with people who they could do the planning, they are healthy, they have longevity, but they just want to claim it. They just want to use it. We don't know how long we're going to live. Maybe that's going to be some money that's going to help with their travel or some other expenses, and they just want to claim it, and that's okay. As long as you've done the planning, are aware of the implications and the reductions from what it could be versus waiting, it's your decision, right? And also the impact on your survivors. I touched on the spousal benefit, surviving spousal benefit. And I see a popular strategy when you're planning with a spouse is that one does claim it early, maybe 62, 63, 64. So there's some income coming in for the household, but one of the spouses delays it till 67, possibly till 70, and for a much higher benefit that will last for as long as one of them are alive. It really comes down to your overall financial situation, your other resources, your pension, your UC retirement savings program, 403b, 457, other assets, other income sources, rental income, work and retirement. And if you are able, because of those other resources and how they may match up with your expenses, if you're able to consider delaying your Social Security benefit, I do feel it is a consideration, or a worth a consideration doing that. So that's where we can talk to you. And we have some great retirement planning software and tools that we can look at all of your resources, your pension, all of your resources and assets and accounts, your Social Security, and put that all together to kind of help with some claiming strategies. Here are some other resources. Again, myucretirement.com/classes. There are ongoing Social Security webinars that are available for you. I believe it's monthly that you can attend Social Security classes. Again, SSA.gov is going to be your source for all things Social Security. myucretirement.com. That keeps coming up. Schedule appointments. Information, that is your source for all things retirement at UC. And then here's that phone number again for the Fidelity Retirement Group that helps support UC, which is the 800-558-9182. All right, I'm going to take a break here. And Kim, I'm sure there's some questions in there about Social Security, and happy to go over any questions there are, or help answer them. Even if it's about the retirement income planning from Kim's segment, we can certainly answer questions there, or anything that's on anybody's mind. Happy to go through a Q&A session again here. But thanks for hanging with me here, going through those slides. And Kim, I can't pull up the Q&A for some reason, so I'm going to rely on you to go through those questions there.
Yeah, of course. And I have them up, and so we have had a few questions that have come in. And Eric, thanks for providing that valuable information about Social Security. It's always a extremely popular topic. So of course, the first question is always one of the top questions that we get. So if you want to take a shot at this one, it's how likely is Social Security to be funded in the near future?
Yeah, that is that certainly is a, a popular question that comes up. And I look at Social Security has been around for 90 plus years, and it is a critical income for a lot of retirees in this country. And for a lot of retirees, it is the majority of their retirement income. So and I know sometimes I hear or people think that it's they're not relying on any of it, that it's just going to go away, it's not going to be there. And I but I um so there's going to be some changes to the program. So worst case scenario, kind of how it sits right now, if there are no changes over the next 8 to 10 years, benefits are going to be cut by about 20 to 25%. Because we are all paying our Social Security tax, right? That those FICA taxes, that 6.2% Social Security tax that's taken out of our income that's not going to stop. We're going to continue paying our Social Security tax, and that is what is paying those benefits to the benefits to those who are receiving it now. So those FICA taxes cover about 75 to 80% of the obligation to Social Security to those who are claiming it. So what's set to run dry is the Social Security Trust Fund that kind of makes up that 20% difference. And that trust fund was built from going back in the years where the Social Security tax was exceeding what was going out. So they built this. There was a surplus, and so that is now kind of supplementing our FICA taxes by about 20%. So there is likely going to be some changes to the program, whether the full retirement age changes again, the taxable wage base. So what that is that anybody earning up to above 184,500 is not paying Social Security tax on their earnings. So that does increase every year, but that could increase higher. So there are things that can be changed. The full retirement age, I would say if that is going to change, it would be for a younger generation so that there's time to plan. Kind of what they did in the early 80s, right? They changed it for the baby in anticipation of the baby boomers. But I think for any of you who are claiming your Social Security, close to claiming your Social Security, your full retirement age will not change. So there's going to be changes. I mean, it has to go through Congress and to determine what those changes would be. It could be a little bit of everything that together could help shore up that 20% that's needed. So we'll see. So I don't believe it's not going to go away. And there's going to be some changes to it coming up in the next 8 to 10 years. It's too important. It's too critical of an income source for retirees in this country. It's been around for 90 plus years, and we are all going to continue paying our FICA Social Security tax.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Eric. So next question that came in, could we live off the pension until age 70 and then claim Social Security?
Yeah, absolutely. So if your UC pension, which starts the month after you retire and is a monthly predictable lifetime source of income, so that's like a paycheck, right? That's going to come in. And if what that is going to be paying you is sufficient to cover your expenses or most of your expenses, absolutely. That is a good scenario there, a good situation that you would be in that would allow you to delay your Social Security for a higher benefit. So yes, absolutely.
Great, thank you. I'm gonna tie that into questions that came in a little bit later, but there was two with the same topic. Isn't there a break-even age where even if you were taking a hit but collecting early, you came out ahead overall?
Yeah, that break-even age kind of tends to be around 80, early 80s of, when does it finally have made sense to delay taking Social Security? As I mentioned, you missed those payments early on, right? Those lowered payments for 5 years, for 7 years. So yeah, it takes 10, 12 years, 10 to 13 years for it to finally kind of break even and for it to catch up for you to benefit you to have delayed taking it. So that's why looking into your 80s and 90s, that if you're healthy, you have some longevity, possibly some other resources that can allow you to think about delaying it, it is a consideration. I'm not here telling you you must delay it. It's just to consider it. Um, so yeah, that break even age is right around 80, early 80s generally.
Great, thanks. Next question. If I don't need the Social Security benefit, can it be deposited into a retirement account, or do I need to deposit it into a non-retirement account, such as a regular brokerage account, bank account?
Yeah, it would need to go into a non-retirement account, checking account. I assume you can go into a brokerage or another type of an account, but yeah, it cannot go into an IRA or 403B or 401k. There's no way to pre-tax make pre-tax contributions with it. So it is going to be part of your taxable income for the year.
Thank you. And then next question. You are a widow, but we're only married 8 years. Are you entitled to the possible spouse benefit?
Um, so the surviving spousal benefit, you need to have been married for 10 plus years, unfortunately, to earn the ex-spousal benefit. And that's the same with, yeah, so if it's less than 10 years, then the ex-spousal benefit is not available.
Thank you for clarifying. So I'm 65. My husband passed in 2025, but I was told I couldn't get my husband's Social Security because my salary is too high. Is this correct?
So yes, great. I'm glad this came up because if your earnings are above 24,480, this is for 2026, and you claim your Social Security benefit or a surviving spousal benefit or a spousal benefit younger than your full retirement age, Social Security will penalize you. So they will withhold money from your Social Security benefit if you claim it younger than your full retirement age and your earnings are above that 24,000 range. So in this case, if you're 65 and you're still have a salary or earned income above 24,480, yeah, if you claim Social Security, you're younger than your full retirement age, Social Security is going to withhold dollars, and it's going to be $1 for every $2 over that limit. So it'd either be a reduction or possibly you wouldn't receive anything depending what your earnings are. So you would need to wait till your full retirement age, and then there's no earnings restrictions. Then you can earn as much as you want and claim your Social Security benefit, claim a surviving ex-spousal benefit, or a surviving spousal benefit, or a spousal benefit, surviving spousal benefit, and but younger than full retirement age, yeah, you need to wait if your earnings are too high.
Thank you. And sorry to hear about your husband. I didn't want to bypass that for sure. Next question, Eric. If you're an ex-spouse and you are receiving the 50% benefit and then the ex-spouse dies, then you can step into their shoes and receive the whole benefit from the ex-spouse?
Okay, so you're receiving ex
So they're
spousal
receiving,
benefit. You're
yes.
receiving the 50% benefit from your ex-spouse.
And then
Your
the ex-spouse
ex-spouse
passed away.
passed away.
Do they get to step up into their shoes?
Yes. So as long as you were married for 10 plus years and did not remarry before age 60, then you can step into your ex-spouse's shoes and continue to receive what their Social Security payment was. So yes.
Perfect. Okay, next question. When they have had changes to Social Security, have individuals' monthly checks actually been reduced, or is the amount that you start with guaranteed for life once it's claimed? And
Yeah, I mean, anytime there's a guarantee on something, right? Yeah. Um, so I think right now, for those who are receiving, if there's no changes by the year around 2033, for someone, if somebody's receiving 2,000 a month, that could be reduced. There could be a cut on that. So no, I don't think there's now. I don't think that's going to happen, but there's no guarantee that it won't happen. So there will have to be some changes put in place in order to avoid reduction in Social Security payments, even to those who are receiving it. So there's no guarantee that what you're receiving now will continue for the rest of your life.
Perfect. Thanks, Eric. And then next question for you. What happens if you claim and then go back to work?
Well, are they younger than full retirement age?
They didn't say. So,
Okay.
and then the next question actually is, can you talk about the impact of working after you take Social Security? So, I mean, obviously age is going to be the biggest factor.
Yeah. So if you claim your Social Security younger than full retirement age, and you go back to work younger than full retirement age, and your earnings are above that 24,480, then Social Security is going to withhold some of your Social Security benefit. $1 for every $2 over that limit. Once you either hit your full retirement age or you stop working or your earnings go below that 24,000 mark, then your Social Security will jump back up to where it was. But it's still going to be whatever the age you claimed at is what the age is for when your Social Security. It's not like you can, if you claim it at 64, you go back to work, start it again at 60, then you retire at 67. It's not like you can reclaim it at 67 for that higher amount. It's going to go back to where it was at the amount that you claimed it at the younger age. If you're over full retirement age, 67, and you're claiming your benefit, and you go back to work, there's no implications to your Social Security. You'll continue to receive what you were receiving. So as long as you're over full retirement age, there's no income restrictions.
Perfect. And then the next question, if you're still working but took your Social Security at full retirement age of 66 and a half, what happens to those extra funds they are taking out of my check? Right. So in other words, they're collecting Social Security, they're working, so they're paying into Social Security, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, so that actually could help with the formula. So if you're claiming Social Security and you are still working and you're paying into Social Security, remember Social Security looks at your 35 highest years of earnings. So if your earnings now are, as you're paying into it, are higher than either years and 30 years ago or 35 years ago, or if you're maybe you have some zeros, maybe you didn't have 35 years of earnings, but you're paying into it now, then that helps with that calculation. So even if you're receiving it and you're still working, the formula that Social Security uses, they're going to look at your current salary, your current earnings, and what you're paying into Social Security. That can help boost that. So it is going into the Social Security Administration and possibly helping with the calculation that could then increase how much you're receiving from Social Security.
Thanks. Next question. If I claim 50% of my ex-spouse's monthly index earnings at my age of 68 years, when I turn 70 years, can I then switch to claim mine?
This is for ex-spouse. So no, Social Security is going to always look at your own work history first. And they're going to pay you on your work history first, and then decide if they're going to add any to it or not from a spouse or an ex-spouse. So that was some of the loopholes that were closed in 2015. They were the restricted application, the file and suspend, where you could file for a spousal benefit or an ex-spousal benefit, claim off of spouse or ex-spouse, and then flip to your own at a later date and let yours keep increasing. So that was some of the loopholes and changes that occurred in 2015. So correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, but I believe I think it's, Social Security is they're gonna, if you claim it, it's your work history, your earnings first, what you're gonna get, and then add on if you're eligible, but you can't flip to it at a later time.
Right. Yes. Okay, so next question. Just to clarify, my husband passed away this past year. We are both 59. I will get his Social Security benefits once I start claiming them. If he has more than mine, it would be the entire amount qualified for based on the age I claim them.
And I'm sorry to hear about your spouse. So you're both 59. So the earliest age, so you're eligible to claim a surviving spouse benefit as early as 60. Now, if you have earnings above the 24,000, then you may not want to, because that's going to reduce how much you're going to receive. Plus, you're claiming younger than your full retirement age, which is going to reduce it to less than 50% as well. So you can claim as a surviving ex-spouse, a surviving spouse as early as 60 and receive it and continue to receive it, and then switch to your own at a later date. So that's only available for the surviving spousal benefit, where you can switch to your own later. But there may be some implications based on your earnings, that if you do claim it younger than your full retirement age, that it will be reduced. So I would definitely touch base with Social Security on some of these. These are all great questions, and this is where the program can get very complicated and complex, and there's lots of rules with some of these claiming strategies and thoughts. So I definitely would encourage you to connect with Social Security on some of these questions. But yeah, you can claim surviving spouse as early as 60, but based on your income, based on your age, it could be reduced, or possibly not receive any until your full retirement age, or your earnings are below that earnings limit of 24,480.
Thanks, Eric. And then question, if we are both claiming Social Security now, can each of us still claim the spouse's share up to 50%?
Well, so if you both are claiming, so there's a lot of questions on here, like what age you claimed, and so again, this might be a good question for Social Security. But Social Security, if you both have claimed, you're both receiving your Social Security benefit on your own work history. But if one of you is, your benefit on your work history is less than half of your spouse's amount that they would have received at their full retirement age, 66 to 67, that's when the add-on would occur. So in my example, in this example here, the 1,800 is the spouse's full retirement age amount. So as the spousal benefit, you're entitled to 900, half of that. But if your payment is 650 on your work history, Social Security will add 250 to that to bring it up to 900. But if your payment on your work history is $1,000, that's more than half of your spouse's full retirement age amount. You will just continue to claim on your work history, your own, and your spouse will continue on their own. So it's only if one of yours amount is on your work history is less than your spouse's full retirement age amount. But again, I would definitely check with the Social Security Administration. They have local offices. There's a phone number you can call. So another good question for them, so they could look at both of your profiles and give you some good guidance.
Thanks, Eric. I know lots of good questions coming in and complex too. So, um, at 70 years old, if I have a rental income of 100,000 per year, will I qualify for Social Security?
Um, well, to qualify, so I guess to qualify, you would have to have paid into it with an employer where you were paying Social Security tax, right? The 4 credits per year over the at least a minimum of 10 years. So if that is again, not quite enough information, but rental income does not impact your ability to claim Social Security, especially once you're over your full retirement age or even under full retirement age. Rental income it's not earned income, it's 1099 income. So rental income doesn't impact anything from what you may have earned, what your benefit is. So if you're at 70 and if you haven't claimed your Social Security, you're going to want to claim it. It's not going up anymore. And Social Security is probably trying to communicate or connect with you to have you claim it. So the rental income does not impact your your Social Security benefit.
Thanks, Eric. And then another question. I am 68 and plan to retire this June. I would like to work part-time after I retire. Is there a limit to the percentage of time I can work or earn after I retire?
Well, the Social Security, no. Once you're over your 59 and excuse me, once you're over your full retirement age of say 67, then you can have any earnings. So you can claim your benefit here. You're going to retire at 68. You can claim it, or you can wait for 2 more years, and it will keep increasing 8% per year. But having earned income, whether that's part-time work or even a full-time earnings position, that's not going to impact your Social Security or the ability for you to claim your Social Security benefit. Once you're over full retirement age, earnings doesn't impact it anymore.
And then, Eric, this is a follow-up question to the question we had earlier about the person who is already claiming Social Security, but still working and paying into it. So their follow-up question was, will they reevaluate it when I actually stop working at 70?
That's a good question. And Kim, I don't know if you know, but I think they're constantly reevaluating. As you, if you, excuse me, if your earnings now are higher than where they were in any of the previous 35 years, then it's probably constantly being reevaluated. I am not 100% certain on that they would just wait till 70 when you stop paying into it and then reconfigure all of it. I think it would happen each year, or as your average index monthly earnings is going to continuously increase as you're working and paying into it at your current salary, assuming that it's higher than previous years, any of the previous 35 years. Is that?
Yeah, I agree. And if you log into the Social Security website, it's showing you the years and their earnings for each of those years. And they have a link to the formula that they're using as well. So you might want to check there to see if they're incorporating these current years that you're still working as well. So question, is the no tax on Social Security, has that been implemented?
There's no state tax. So if you live in California and you're receiving Social Security, you're not paying California state taxes on that amount. And you may be paying some federal tax. And Social Security looks at what they call as your combined income to determine how much of your benefit is going to be taxed at your federal rate. So your combined income, Social Security uses your adjusted gross income plus any non-taxable interest that you may have from municipal bond or something like that, or municipal money market, plus half of your Social Security. So your AGI, non-taxable interest, plus half of your Social Security, Social Security adds those together to come up with like your combined income. And depending where that number is, then they look at, okay, how much of your Social Security benefit is going to be taxed at your federal rate. But there should not be any California state taxes being withheld from your Social Security benefit if you're receiving it.
Thanks, Eric. And then just a comment came in about the previous question and the person who's collecting and still working and reevaluating the earnings.
Yeah.
Another participant on here commented that her husband did that and his Social Security increased because he was adding higher earnings.
Yeah.
So thank you
it's,
for
yeah, the earnings,
that input.
assuming the earnings are higher now than previous years, it's going to increase that benefit. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you to whoever
Yes, thank you.
jumped in there. Yeah.
We like live answers like that too.
Yeah.
So and this is just a comment that somebody made, and it seems like it's best to fully stop working and then take Social Security. Just a comment, but feel free to comment if you'd like. I mean, Eric, you can comment. I'll comment too. I mean, everyone's situation is different. It's certainly less complicated if you fully stop working and then take Social Security, especially if you're before full retirement age. But if you're full retirement age and you're still working and collecting, you can see that they're always reevaluating the income coming in and adjusting your Social Security if needed, especially if you're earning more while you're still working and collecting Social Security. It'd be much easier if it were a one size fits all, right? And if we knew when we were going to pass away to when we should start collecting Social Security, but never that easy. Question, does the pension count as income against Social Security if collecting Social Security before the age of 67?
It does not. So pension income, withdrawals from retirement accounts, rental income, those sources those are 1099 sources of income. They do not count towards that. It's only if you earned income, W-2 type income.
Perfect. Okay, next question. I was advised that I could take my Social Security between 62 to 67, and my husband, who is 7 years older and higher wage earner, should wait to take his Social Security as long as possible. Does this advice make sense?
So this is again, without knowing kind of the full picture and all of your other resources, but this is a common strategy when planning with a spouse for Social Security is the higher wage earner wait to claim it as long as they can, possibly till 70, for the highest possible monthly amount because of the way that the surviving spousal benefits work, right? So the higher wage earner wait till 70, get that maximum amount. That's the one that then lasts for as long one of you two are alive. Because if your husband, if he dies before you would then step into his shoes and continue with that higher amount for the rest of your life. And if he waited till 70, he got the maximum possible amount based on his work history. And so that highest amount, that's what, if he dies before you, then you would receive that amount for the rest of your life. And so for you to claim it between 62 and 67, that's maybe that's the income that could come in for the household to help cover expenses or help cover some travel or other things or groceries or right. Yeah, I mean, it possibly, I can't say yes or no. I don't know your whole picture, but that is a common strategy.
Thanks, Eric. And we just have 2 questions left. The first one, is there a standard percentage deducted from Social Security checks to use for budgeting monthly take-home income? So in other words, are taxes taken out of Social Security checks before we get them?
Yes. So, yeah, you can have set up a withholding for federal taxes from your Social Security. So you have a gross amount that Social Security, that's what you see when you log into SSA.gov is the gross Social Security amount. And then you want to factor in Medicare premium and federal tax from that. So the federal tax is, what is your federal tax rate for you, for your household? And then apply that federal rate to 85% of the benefit, so not 100%. So let me give an example. Let's say your gross amount is $1,000. So you're going to pay federal tax on $850 of that. Maybe your federal tax rate is 20%. All right. So if you're paying federal 20% on $850 of your $1,000 Social Security payment, no state tax, and then your Medicare premium, 200, 300, depending where your Medicare Part B cost is. So that's kind of how you want to look at your take-home income from Social Security, deduct Medicare, and deduct some federal tax from it.
Great. Thanks, Eric. And then questioning it, why is Social Security taxed federally if it's money we paid into it? Is it because it's taken pre-tax?
Likely, yes. I don't know for sure. I don't know the history or the reasoning. I don't know if you know that answer, Kim, but that seems reasonable to me that there hasn't been any federal tax taken out of it yet.
Yeah, I agree. And then last question so far. Does Fidelity have worksheets to calculate best ages for a couple to take Social Security, taking into account specific income and age differences between the individuals?
I think, Kim, are there some worksheets on fidelity.com? I think there's some
There's also a tool
calculation.
on Net Benefits. So when you log into Net Benefits, you can in the search bar type in Social Security, and it gives you a tool there also to, determine based on, married, single, the ages to take, the amount you would be receiving, and things like that.
And
Oh,
it is hard to say that, there's a lot of variables too. As Kim mentioned, how long we're going to live, right? If we knew exactly what our life expectancy was, we would know exactly when the right age to claim Social Security. And so, you have to kind of just look at your health, your family history, your other resources, what your expenses are, as you're thinking about retirement and claiming strategies. And so that's why sometimes people are like, well, we don't know how long. I'm healthy and I've longevity in my family, but I'm going to claim it as soon as I can so I can get it, because if I do wait and something happens to me, then I didn't get it, right? I didn't get as much as I could have. But if, living into your 80s, into your 90s, and that can be very helpful to have a higher Social Security payment later in life as well for possible medical needs or care needs or things that you might need as much income as possible. So a lot of factors and considerations there.
so I just want to say thank you to both of you. You had some really tough questions this session and really good questions. So thanks to everybody out there that it's a great way to learn, but it's also, I do think, once again, Fidelity, our representatives are available for you to meet with them, and you can sort of look at that. You can take what you think you're going to, pull your Social Security estimate, take that with you when you meet with them. I mean, this is part of this free advice and advising that we get through Fidelity. And I think sometimes when you pull it all together and you look at it all at once, you're like, like we've thought about this. I'm going to take mine early. My husband is going to take his later. If we have excess, we're just going to put it in a savings account, right? Get a high yield savings account or something. So I think there's a lot of things you can think about with Social Security. And I do, so each and every single one of us, it's so very, very different. But Kim and Eric, it was a great session with all the information you gave us, but the Q&A was wonderful. So, and I want to thank everybody again for being here. We have another session this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So if we've answered all of our questions, I think we can close out and get a little bit of time back this morning to get some other work done. Or
Thanks,
get
Julianne.
lunch.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining.
All right.
Hope you have a
Yeah,
great
thanks,
day.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.